I'm Clinton DaCosta. I'm the VDC project lead for Modern Niagara. I help manage infrastructure projects across Canada, including the Calgary Cancer Centre project, as well as now the New St. Paul project, which is another major hospital in Vancouver. I help to develop, implement, and produce new workflows and procedures, such as the development of the COBie workflow on the CCC. And I've been with Modern Niagara and the BIM industry for the last 10 years, and extremely excited for the growth and innovation that the industry is going through. And I'm joined by my colleague, Dominic Ling.
Yeah, thanks, Listen. Yeah, I'm Dominic Ling. I'm a VDC designer, joined Modern a year and a half ago. As Dan mentioned, I did the closeout for the Calgary Cancer Centre as we handed over the as-built and the COBie file. So I got to see a lot of the tail end of the project lifecycle. Currently, I'm helping and learning from Clinton on the New St. Paul's Hospital, related again to facilities management, which is cool to see how the project starts from the front end. Likewise, I'm excited to see where BIM and facilities management can go from here. Yeah, so without further ado, we'll get started.
Thank you. Brief overview of what we'll be covering, a little of our company, the project as a whole, which is the Calgary Cancer Centre project, challenges that we face and the solutions that we use to perform on the project, an overview and our implementation through the COBie deliverable, a final conclusion, and a Q&A period. The Calgary Cancer Centre project was a 2 million square foot hospital with 18 levels and 2 mechanical rooms. It'll be one of the most comprehensive cancer treatment facilities worldwide. And it facilitates in-house research focused on the prevention, early detection, precision medicine, and psychosocial care. Modern Niagara was the mechanical contractor under PCL. It featured other key features of the Calgary Cancer Centre include over 100 patient exam rooms, 160 inpatient bed units, 100 plus chemotherapy chairs, 1,650 stalls for underground parking levels, 12 radiation vaults with an additional 3 vaults for future expansion. And one of the key areas was the 2 innovation vaults, which included a combined MRI and LINAC, which was able to do both imaging and treatment. Some of the key principles that the modern VDC looks to strive towards are our VDC commandments, defined within our VDC commandments. These are our commandments in terms of the priority of what we strive to achieve. What we produce and model must be coordinated with quality. What we produce must be ahead of the critical path, and it must be on budget. Overall, our successes must be judged and our actions must be driven by these goals. Some of the following items are some of the actions that the Modern Niagara team performed in order to ensure a successful project for the Calgary Cancer Centre. Modern Niagara worked alongside our consultants to integrate our QA/QC processes where changes would impact our design. Our site team and VDC worked together to audit our duct and piping systems for sizing and flow characteristics, where any findings were brought up with the consultants or RFI'd as they were discovered. This helped to avoid future headaches down the line in order to mitigate having installed pipe or duct systems that were either oversized or undersized. Another challenge that our VDC team led the charge on was the focus on end user accessibility. The client needs accessibility for the maintenance of the building. What we strive to do was persevere for the user perspective on access and maintenance. We took a look at our design and thought about what is user-friendly and accessible. How will the client access equipment, and how will maintenance be performed on key equipment? An example of such situations was where we had multiple stair pressurization units. They were stacked in a triple arrangement with 4 layers of drywall enclosure between them, as well as located above a pump skid, where it would have been an extreme challenge to maintain the units in this condition. Our team flagged this issue and proposed alternative locations for each stair pressurization unit where access and maintenance clearances could be maintained, as well as avoiding the 4 layers of drywall enclosures. Stair pressurization units were eventually relocated closer to their endpoints, which helped to reduce further coordination issues down the line. The Calgary Cancer Centre also required one of one of the strictest as-built tolerances in the industry. To achieve this, we implemented a QA/QC endeavor using a LiDAR scan portions of the Calgary Cancer Centre to verify the accuracy of the installation and the site conditions. The LiDAR scan generated a highly detailed point cloud model that was imported into our shared 3D workspace, in this case Navisworks, and it was used to compare against our 3D trade models. Upon validating the point cloud model against the 3D trade models, we were able to verify that over 85% of the building was within industry standards of 50 to 250 mils, depending on the discipline. Anything outside of this range was updated in our model through our as-built processes. Modern Niagara is extremely proud of the end product that was created on the Calgary Cancer Centre project, and this level of accuracy maintained from design to installation is crucial in the creation and development of an accurate digital twin of the building. Some of the key solutions that Modern identified to ensure that the VDC engagement throughout the design and construction phase were more attention and mobilization must be given to VDC early on, allow the team to get ahead and stay ahead. Site installers must be given time to buy in and provide feedback on plans prior to install. VDC must engage and collaborate with the site team. We have to promote model walkthroughs between all parties, whether that's the site, VDC, or the VDC teams. That allows comfort to be built with both teams and allows for a cleaner install and issues to be brought forward. The constant communication of any site change was also extremely key, as deviations needed to be communicated between all team members. Another complex area within the Calgary Cancer Centre project was the lab space in the high podium curb areas. This proved challenging due to a distribution of low beams, reducing significant ceiling space, as well as an angled floor plan, which meant the use of a lot of custom fittings through our duct and piping systems. The ductwork design required also the use of control valves, for which accessibility and maintenance were also had to be accounted for. So this was all due to the unique shape of the building. Another area of high interest was the Linak maze and the innovation vaults. This was an extremely complex space that contained CNSC approved radiation shielding using concrete and lead enclosures, an RF bunker with thick concrete rooms to prevent the MRI radiation, cryogenic exhaust requirements, which include our quench vent systems, as well as constant design flux and concrete shielding penetrations that needed to be accounted for, as well as restricted access to our piping and sprinkler systems. These rooms were extremely complex and required a significant amount of collaboration between all the trades, the GC, the province, and the MRI manufacturer. Any challenges that were found were resolved over months of meetings. Some of those include penetrations through shieldings were extremely complex. The lead shielding door required significant multi-trade coordination. The lead bulkhead design required numerous iterations to achieve installation, as well as MRI equipment was extremely leading edge, and design details were coming in through construction that needed to be accounted for. The root cause of some of these problems would have been design teams assuming your design is complete too early on. You have to understand that it's an extremely iterative process where reviews and team collaboration are required to facilitate a quality product. The solution for Modern's end was to provide a dedicated resource to this area in general, where they would focus on investigating all design requirements, including those of the other parties, and prompt the GC and consultants about design inconsistencies, push to facilitate communication between all parties, as well as the key is to provide multiple design options to the GC and consultants. It's about providing solutions, not just issues. And then understanding that this whole thing is going to be a very collaborative and iterative process. So you're not going to get it right on the first bat. It's a lot of work through the team, with the team, sorry. And so basically, just to provide a brief overview of the VDC solution strategies, the key is maintaining communication with all site trade partners and GCs and the GC, and utilizing a shared 3D workspace for coordination, whether that's Revisto or Navisworks, as well as finally getting ahead, staying ahead, and being proactive. Through all of that, coordination was able to achieve really good results of model versus installation, such as this curved mechanical room on the 13th floor. Curved mechanical rooms were extremely hard because there's a requirement for custom angled fittings, which comes with increased coordination. Positioning on site with the angles is extremely difficult. That was facilitated, and then as well as considering expansion of your pipe systems used when utilizing the custom angles is a challenge. Here's a quick demonstration of the successes of our prefab endeavor with the installation of the curved hot water header. This goes to show that VDC is not an unknown party behind the computer. We're actively working with our site teams to install a quality product for our clients. And part of that solution is through prefabrication. There's a substantial amount of equipment where field fitting, coordination, and pipework would have been extremely consuming and time-consuming and costly. Prefab is beneficial because it increases safety in a controlled workspace. Space management on site is not a requirement because it's always a premium. So pushing that into our shops, we are able to control less manpower on site, as well as increase our quality control and deliver a higher quality product to the owner or to the client, as well as reduce material waste, and finally deliver the product on time.
Thanks, Clifton. So another example of our VDC solutions was the issue of carriers. Carriers are what support toilets and sinks, and they determine the clearance and placement of sleeves for the plumbing. More often than not, this clearance gets missed on the first iteration when walls and lamps are designed, so there's not enough space in the chase for the sleeves. We created our own carrier family complete with a sleeve guide and shared with the architects and consultants. In doing so, we shared trade level knowledge as well. This ensured the sleeve in the chase is accounted for during the design phase, and in doing so, saves the project team hundreds of RFIs and likely tens of thousands of dollars in project losses. And these are just some shots to show we did the same thing with the sink carriers. Again, this solved a lot of headaches with the chase not having the proper clearance through a clever VDC solution. There were over thousands of VDC hours and effort that went into everything we just showed you. There was over 770,000 linear feet of pipe drawn and about 3 million pounds of sheet metal drawn, and over 510 spools were created. Now that we have a cool coordinated 3D model, what do you do with it? How do you translate and utilize this data to the life cycle of the project? You can put it into something called COBie. So COBie stands for Construction Operations Building Information Exchange. It's basically a fancy spreadsheet which becomes a database of facility information. That picture on the right is a problem that COBie set out to solve. It's the traditional construction handover plagued by tons of physical paper that's usually unorganized. When you put all the info into a database, it assists with the preventive maintenance of assets in the building. You can know where they are and what documents are related to them without sifting through boxes of paper. So again, COBie is a database of facility information that can be integrated into a client's computerized maintenance management system of their choice, or CMMS. A CMMS is how building services maintain a facility, and it aids with location, service dates, diagnosis, all those things. If you take a look at the example of the iPad on the right, there's a CMMS running on there. How it would be used, you would pull up a floor plan or list of equipment. You can click on the equipment you're trying to look for and instantly see where it is, how it's running, how it's maintained, when it's due for service, who made it. And it really helps with technicians finding where they need to go in the building to work on it and knowing how something is operated and maintained. And the owner can add data to this system after the fact. So it's way faster than opening up a binder. Our workflow for the COBie file creation on the Calgary Cancer Centre actually won us a Building Transformations Innovation Spotlight Award for 2021 in the category of Digital Supply Chain. And what was the background of that award? So the Calgary Cancer Centre required the largest and most complex COBie deliverable to date in Canada. It had more than 80,000 data points, multiple data sources, and no previously defined workflow for a job at this scale. It was the first large-scale 3D digital twin of its kind in Canada. In order to capture all this data, minimize error, and track progress, we had to create our own workflow and tracking systems. We had data sources coming in from multiple locations. There was Revit, which is our 3D modeling platform, and it provided the spatial information, CX Alloy, which was the commissioning platform for all the equipment, and equipment shop drawings and submittals, from which information on the equipment itself was obtained, such as make and model. Data existed in multiple sources and fed into each other. A centralized platform to compile data was required. Economist was chosen as the centralized platform. A third-party software, we used it to compile all the data into a single COBie file for submission to the client. Having this common pool for all the data to be fed into solved the delineation of data sources. Yeah, so the dashboard. So we still needed a way to do some quality assurance and quality checks on the data as it flowed from our sources into Economist and then into the COBie file. We needed a way to prove accountability to leadership and management. To solve this, we created our own QC dashboard, which checked for completion and consistency between all data sources. The advantage of having a dashboard is it provides metrics and KPIs in an easily digestible format to interpret and identify your risk. It helps us review our project status at a glance, and if we're making shop drawings, documentation on different components. One major example was we saw on Flag that barcodes and serial numbers were lagging, which kicked us into gear for pushing the commissioning team to complete their side. This is the full COBie workflow, and it was as complex as running a computer program. I won't spend too long explaining each of these, but this one represents the data flow all the way from an asset list to the final COBie deliverable. And this one detailed the entire workflow from Revit to CX Alloy and Economist, and their accompanying QC processes. It included not just modern Niagara scope, but showed how we interface with PCL and the commissioning agents. But to simplify, this is a simplified version of our workflow. Shop drawing information was filled in on our QC dashboard and auto-populated into Revit. Revit was fed into Economist for spatial data alongside the shop drawing information. CX Alloy fed in commissioning info into Economist, and Economist was used to create the final COBie file. And throughout everything, the QC dashboard ensured consistency across the board. 80,000 data points across Revit, CX Alloy, Economist, and the final COBie deliverable. It was a whirlwind of QC focused on the dashboard. In conclusion, our challenging project scope and data capture logistics were tackled by robust workflow, tracking systems, QC processes, culminating in an effective digital supply chain. We collected 80,000 data points for the CCC COBie file and wrangled it together with no previously defined workflow to produce the largest COBie deliverable to date in Canada. The inclusion of COBie into the digital twin model further enhances an owner's ability to manage, maintain, and operate their facilities efficiently and cost-effectively. We've been told that facility management input can take up to 1.5 years for a project of this size. As such, we save not only the owner's labor cost of managing and inputting that data, but also the 1.5 years of unknown facility status risk associated with that data, which is huge. So what does this mean for the industry, and where do we go from here? As we continue to leverage construction teams with BIM technology, we empower the engineering and construction industries to provide their services and expertise to a growing market. And that's it for our presentation, so now we're open for any questions.
Thank you, Clinton and Dominic. That was a great presentation and an incredible amount of information and an impressive project that you have undertaken. So we're just going to leave the comment section open. One question we see here is, how did you push and pull data into Revit from the COBie file as it was updated from contractors and other stakeholders? Was there any issues with the exchange? So how did you deal with the interoperability between different data systems to move the COBie data?
So a lot of that was facilitated through the utilization of the Economist platform. What that allowed was each stakeholder would directly export from their Revit files, which would pull in all of your metadata and your location data directly into Economist. So you could pull in multiple data sources at the same time, as well as Economist facilitated bringing in data through spreadsheets as well. So there was a lot of avenues to push the data into that one central repository. And it managed, you managed it by your, you managed the duplication risk by your equipment tagging. So you just ensure that each trade partner controlled what they brought in. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you, Tyler. If anyone has more questions, please post them in the comment section. Is there a live data coming from the equipment and troubleshooting that can be found? So with the current assets inside the building, do you have any type of IoT in place or anything that could feed into another system for you guys to do maintenance and life cycle management?
So a lot of the, sorry, can you read the question again? It was,
so is there a live data coming from the equipment to troubleshoot?
that would be handled by the owner's CMMS system. We just provided all the relevant data, and metadata for each equipment and where it was located, as well as the shop drawings and the O&M manuals. So we basically just, that would go into the owner specific CMMS system, and that sort of varies by project, whatever they use.
So it pretty much provided a map with the scope file, and that allows the owner to do this diagnosis.
So basically, you guys took the extra time and value to put in as much information and parameters on every piece of equipment that you guys had installed, is my understanding.
Yep.
Good. Where is COBie in the workflow? How do you use it in transfer data, or use it to transfer data? So where's COBie in your workflow altogether? Is this more the back end of your after construction, or where do you guys start with it?
So the COBie file itself would be your final deliverable. It's kind of the end product of the whole workflow, and you can think of it as like a neutral file that you would then import into any CM, like facilities management software of your choice. So it's kind of our end goal of what we're always looking at and vetting and assessing.
Yeah. Another question we have here, what type of assets did you collect or track? Did you go down to data outlets and building controls?
So building controls, Clinton, was that also our scope? Was that?
It depends on the project. On this one, I don't believe it was part of the COBie deliverable. We did just provide a lot of the mechanical equipment.
As we were the mechanical contractor.
Yeah.
But I should mention there's also an electrical side from the plan group.
So we got a lot more questions coming. Was the final COBie file inclusive of all Revit model assets, or did you separate the COBie deliverable per discipline model? So how did you deal with multiple disciplines in your COBie deliverable? Were they separated or federated altogether?
The COBie deliverable was federated as one file with all of the data, mechanical, electrical, pneumatics, etc. That was all pushed in through Ecodomus. So it was one COBie file at the end of the day that was facilitated to the owner as a deliverable product.
That's a very courageous thing to do, especially in Canada, bringing it all together. Did you work with the owner to create an ongoing process for the management of data? So what was the relationship with your client owner?
For that, what we worked with the owner was identifying the data points that they specifically wanted in terms of with it, because the COBie file sort of leaves it open for interpretation. It's up to the client to pick and choose what data and what assets they want to be tracked as part of that process. So it's an ongoing dialogue with your client.
Right. Here's another question. I think we prepped this one here for you. What are some challenges you faced in COBie preparation? What are the lessons learned that you can share? So I gave you this question yesterday. What was the most valuable lesson that you came out of from this experience, an ongoing experience for this construction project and COBie involved?
There is a lot of data, and I think the most important part is getting that QA/QC structure in place. And for us, I think the key in terms of why we survived and why we were able to deliver our COBie deliverable was the asset dashboard. So we were able to see at a high level how we were actually progressing. And as Dominic had mentioned, we had flagged an issue where we noticed that our barcode and serial number information that was supposed to be captured through our commissioning team was lagging behind the schedule. So that dashboard, it really helps trigger your issues and helps you flag where your issues are starting to handle, as well as the dashboard was giving you a life cycle of your data transfer between each of the software platforms to see if anything was missing as you go step by step.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Another question we have here is how the as-built. Let me rephrase this. How's the LiDAR data verified against the 3D models? Were you doing it yourself manually or with some kind of automation with software? And I guess it's relevant to mechanical equipment.
Yeah, because our scope was mechanical in nature with piping and our equipment, it was a visual inspection. So we would walk the model with Navisworks and denote where we were seeing deviations in terms of the install versus our trade 3D model layout.
Right. Another question we have here, would you please explain more about the comparison of an as-built model and an as-planned? Which program you used to build as-built plan? So, I think
that's kind of a. I think what you're asking is like the as-built model is a modification of your production model, I guess, or your trade model. It's just you're facilitating and updating the deviations that occur on site due to those conditions, right? So whatever's being deviating as you install the product, you have to go back into your live Revit model, which was the platform we used, and update it to match. Therefore, you're creating that digital twin, and then you're checking again with the LiDAR scan as well. So it's just you're updating your authoring tool, which is Revit in this platform on the Calgary Cancer Centre with your deviations.
Yeah, maybe like I'll rephrase it and say, how much deviation did you find from what you guys virtually designed in Revit to what was actually installed on site? And after that inspection, how much deviation did you guys see based on your current workflow?
I think overall we were within like 85 to 90% of the tolerances that were accepted on the project.
Yeah.
And those other conditions would have been just part of the construction industry, right? Like there's always going to be deviations, but we were well within our tolerance requirements for 85% of the project.
Yeah, that's an amazing number. You don't hear those kind of numbers because we know that there's always that disconnect from the field and the internal BDC team in the office, right? So yeah. I'm glad to hear that you guys had a really tight relationship and being able to communicate with your field crew. Would you please explain more about the comparison of an as-built model? Oh, sorry, we read that one. The next one we have is, has the COBie file already applied to the CMMS system? Is there any issues when Echo Domus and the owner of CMMS system? Is there any issues between the two platforms?
Well, Ecodomus is just literally your facilitating capturing all the data points together and then producing the COBie file. We have already provided the COBie file to the owner, and we've gotten approval on that. So I think we're okay. Like we're good to go on the Calgary Cancer Centre project. There was no issue.
This next question is, I think, a little bit more directed to an architect of the project. Why was the building curved in plan if that made the installation of equipment difficult? I think Dialogue was the project architect for it, right?
Yeah, I think that's part of the design. I can't really comment on that.
Probably the next question was, how much more expensive was it to put a curved pipe? But
it's just managing all your breaks, and everyone loves a straight hallway. Let's just leave it at that.
Makes it easier for installation and fabrication, for sure.
Yes.
What role did the consultant play in the COBie process? So I guess the M&E engineers involved on the project.
Yes, on the mechanical side of things, they provided our initial data registry, asset registry. So we used that as the baseline. And then because on this project, there was a 2-model approach. So there was a distinct consultant model and a trade model. So we would take the consultant model, have a schedule of all of their assets, and then confirm whether everything has been installed, a model on our side, as well as add anything that was within our scope in there.
And I think you kind of do a lot of finessing on that initial consultant model because you have to prepare it for a real VDC and fabrication level data workflow. design and fabrication is critical to modern Niagara.
Yep.
How do you track the asset's location, and is GIS also part of your workflow, and is it integrated? So I guess equipment layout on the field, how do you guys deal with that? I think that's probably more directed to the field crew who are using some of the surveying equipment, but can you comment on that?
Asset look. How do you track asset location? Well, in terms of the COBie implementation of it, Ecodomus facilitated using the linked Revit files. So because our mechanical model had architectural models linked in, and they had the room metadata in there, so Ecodomus was able to associate the room metadata to the equipment, and then that was verified with our site installation. And again, with the as-built process, if there was a change in equipment, that would be addressed back in our model, and then that would be captured in the COBie export.
Yeah.
So
great.
there was a cycle of data.
Another question here, probably from an earlier question that you could build off. Can you comment about how this process brought in efficiency, better decision-making process? So can you comment on the qualitative effect of using BIM as a deliverable and how you can make better decisions?
I think a lot of it is being like, in general, with the implementation of BIM in the mechanical space, is understanding what your system and your installation path is going to look like. See where your congestion points are in hallways, as an example. In terms of your mechanical room, you're able to do your prefabrication installation, where you're able to offload a lot of the work in your fabrication shop, where you have control over your environment and provide an easier environment to manage and put a higher level of detail in your installation, right? As well as with prefabrication, controlling your material losses and stuff. So it helps you time your installation packages and material ordering.
Yeah, so you definitely could say that the latency between different, managers or decision makers got cut dramatically compared to traditional methods.
Yes. Yep.
Perfect. That was, I think, what a lot of the audience wants to hear. Was the model eventually updated to match the LiDAR scan for record drawing purposes? So did you guys update the Revit model to the LiDAR or the other way around? What did you guys do?
Yeah, so the LiDAR model was used as part of as part of normal redline process when you create your LiDAR. When you create your as-builts, right? So normally the LiDAR helps facilitate a higher level degree of accuracy in that. So that pushed back into our record models.
Mm-hmm. Next question, we got just a few more. Was the installation of mechanical systems done with a surveyor from BIM field use? Not quite understanding that question, but
I would say I think I know what the question is. We did use some surveying tools, primarily the Trimble platform so we did a lot of Trimble for all of our sleeving, as well as we show those carriers for the washroom groups or the sinks and toilets. So we were able to put Trimble markers on all of our sleeve locations to come in to really reduce a lot of our to increase our accuracy in installation, as well as we did it for our hanger placements. Mm-hmm. We were able to do inserts for our hangers, so then it helped speed up the installation process for sure.
Great. Does the architect also use the same COBie workflow? What about the duplication items existing in both architect model and mechanical model? Do you upload or the architect upload to CMMS? So are you guys sharing the same COBie workflow?
Yeah, we were. Again, everything was going in through Ecodomus, and Ecodomus, because you're tracking each asset as an individual element, so it has a unique identification on it. So any element with the same ID tag on it would come in as under one header, with the data aggregated in together. So that helped to mitigate the duplication risk for sure.
Yeah. Two more questions, and I think we'll wrap it up for you. Was there any challenge in implementing COBie due to the file size of the project, or even the size of the project itself?
Was there any challenge due to the file size of the project? There's always going to be issues with. I think those issues come with Revit more than the COBie file itself, and then that's sort of that's just the nature of Revit, really, just managing all of that data in there, right? So as your models get heavy, you just have to do your best data practices on those models to keep them light, right? So
sure, more
is
data,
what it
more
is.
problems, right?
Yeah, exactly. More data, more problems.
Did you purchase the architect model, or was it shared? I mean, how freely was the data exchanged between consultants and Modern?
On the Calgary Cancer Centre, we did have a live link into their model available. So it was a shared collaborative workspace. It was all on the BIM 360
ACC,
Autodesk, whatever they rename it to.
Autodesk Construction Cloud, yeah.
Yeah, Construction Cloud now. Yeah.
But I think that would probably be one of the most critical parts of your business, is having that model cloud hosted, which was secure and available to all the parties involved, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. How long was the process for this project, or for this size of project? So I know that when I visited the job site, I mean, Chris Little was describing how fast things were moving in the trailers. While things were pouring, you guys were designing and updating the next level.
Yeah, well, that's the nature of the design build process on this job. So the project started in 2018, and it's coming to a close in 2022. The COBie aspect of it probably lasted about a year, within the last year during the commissioning phase. Yeah.
Here's another tech question. How big was your mechanical Revit file? How long did it take to open and input changes and synchronize back to your ACC BIM 360 account?
That's always a fun question.
I can answer that too, but go ahead, Clinton.
Yeah, so for this project, it was 14 stories. We split the file. So we did the parkade levels. That was 4 levels of parkade. Then we had a podium level, which was 3 levels of podium. Then we had the mechanical rooms as separate files, including all the risers. And then towers, one big tower file from 8 to 12. I think total each file was on average 800 megs to a gig.
Right, which is actually reasonable size considering how big and how complex an amount of information you guys inputted. But here's another question: how many people were involved in collaborating on that single model, just for Modern Niagara alone?
On average, there was about 5 to 6 people on there.
Yeah.
For sure. Yep. And it does tend to be syncing and collaborating in the cloud. It is slower with the more people on the models. Like I can see on my current project, we have like 10 people in a model, and then you do get stuck in that train of synchronization, right?
Yeah. For sure. There's always a queue for data upload, but
on
top of that, you had also the members from the architects, the consultants involved, PCL. So throw me a number, if you could, of how many people really were collaborating on all these models together.
We had about 20 on just our team.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna say times it by that.
You don't want to throw a bigger number.
Yeah, I'm bad at interpreting numbers on that.
Yeah. Which platform was used to collaborate on the project with all the stakeholders? So I think we kind of answered that, but go ahead.
Yeah, so that was Autodesk Collaborate Cloud. I don't know. You know the name of it right now.
Autodesk Construction Cloud.
Construction Cloud.
The first gen we did it, and then we upgraded everything. But yeah, there was quite a lot of important steps to take to ensure that the data was, always safe and moving to the next version of Revit or the version of ACC. So that was really, really important.
Yeah.
And then finally, more data, more problems. You got to be a Biggie Smalls to know that reference, but yeah, that was great. So I think that it kind of wraps up everything. Clinton, Dominic, did you have any final thoughts that you want to mention about this project and your experience?
I'm just extremely proud of the Modern team for what we've done and what we've been able to perform, and then just having a lasting impact on these infrastructure scale projects on the community. Just because it's a hospital, it's a nice thing for sure to be a part of.
Dominic, any final words that you want to make, or name drops or anything like that?
Sorry.
Don't worry, there's no Oscar music here.
It was my first job out of university. There's a lot I learned going through this process. Interfacing with Clinton helped me a lot. Chris led as well as people at PCL, Giancarlo, and Peter Collins at Platinum, and also our people at Economes as well, who helped develop the tool as we were going along and finding issues, and they helped us correct things. Julie at Economus, and yeah.
Okay,
Awesome.
yeah, you had a nice speech there. Nice.
The music starts queuing up.
Yeah.
No, Clinton, Dominic, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing so much insights on this project. And again, thank you to our speakers. Great job.